What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in for another Zeonizer packed episode. We are your hosts, Z1, Mr. Fun Guy, and I'm with my host and very good buddy of mine.
This is Z2, David, aka PhenomenalMiklo, and yeah, man, we are back once again. It's been a good minute we've uh since we've done an actual tier list, man.
It's been a good while. I mean, tier list is what we like to do. Gets the discussion going. It gets the blood flowing. It gets the creativity flowing. Apologies, we have been severely busy. uh, Collaborating, interviews, whatnot, and currently in planning for our trip to PMC next August. So this will be the last interview that we do today. We have a good interview. If it happens, we have an action-packed interview. Unworthy Productions. Jordan, the director of Unworthy, will be joining us on the show for a small interview for Psycho Menace that just recently dropped. So
Mm-hmm.
we're super excited. We're happy. Uh, this, like I said, this will be our last interview because this does take a lot out of us because a lot of planning goes into making these interviews happen. And this is the last interview until PMC next year. So don't expect any more interviews from us for the rest of this year. We're going to focus solely on tier listing and collaborations with the Multiverse Rangers, so on and so forth, which we are excited for.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like Z1 said, just a lot has been going into the planning for PMC, trying to get the community together and trying to get everything situated. You guys, it's not easy, but we do it anyways, because at the end of the day, what we want to be able to do is share the brand and be able to just do something different, and because we're doing stuff differently, we're starting to get a lot more people catching on track. Like, hey, have you guys heard of the Zeonizer Podcast? Like, they do things, they do bracket fights, they do tier lists and stuff, and so far, not one, other than Bat and Son, so shout out to Bat and Son, have done a bracket fight or some type of tier list fight. Okay? We are the only ones that have done that and continue to do that. So, with that being said, we are definitely going to be um, just trying to see what we can do, as far as trying to give you guys as much quality content as we can, and kind of go from there. So, um,
Yeah. With that said, we have this tier list is going to be simple. It's basically we're going to tier the black and green Super Sentai and Power Rangers in a given certain tier. They range from, of course, legendary to back to the drawing board because we do not want to put any of these great black and green rangers in the trash can for any reason whatsoever. So.
yeah,
Uh, with that said, we also look to the future because in a couple weeks we got a big project. It's a big undertaking. It's going to be because Z2 mentioned a brawl for all.
mm-hmm.
Okay, if y'all not watched our brawl for all, we did a Red Ranger brawl for all that, which was kind of controversial. We had a lot of people upset that uh, we had Austin St. John, Jason, the winner. So much said that this next one we're doing is Power Rangers versus Super Sentai. Now it's Super Sentai without a Power Ranger adaptation. So there's quite a few of them. Uh, and this is going to be our biggest undertaking yet because we're going to at least try to have at least 10 people. So 5 from one side, 5 on the other side. And the original idea was we have special guest voters that we asked to be part of the show that they will vote who makes the best discussion, who makes the more points. That will determine which team goes on to the next round. And this will be maybe a 2 to 3 part series because it's going to be huge. There's a lot of teams here. So with that said, let's get this underway.
Yeah, man. So, without further ado, as you guys should be seeing on your screen right about now, okay, as we just said, right, as Z1 just said, this is our tier list, okay? We got legendary, we got more phenomenal, we got super, we got mid card, we got meh. Basically, y'all know what meh is. Like, y'all could have did without, but he's still putting in some work. Okay. And then you have back to the drawing board. Okay. Again, we did not want to put anybody in Rita's dumpster, just because these are some legendary Rangers, especially, the I guess you would say the first 25, Rangers and stuff, all legendary. Some of the newer stuff maybe, but still don't want to do that to any of these phenomenal Rangers. So, ow. So, without further ado, this list also includes comic book Rangers. Okay, so you guys, sorry, I got puppies playing in the background, but so we also have, you also have Psycho Black. You got SPD A Squad Green. You have, I believe this is from Q Ranger. I could be wrong. You have Omega Black. You have the Black Ranger from Mighty Morphin versus Godzilla, and then you have Mighty Morphin versus TMNT, which you have, I forget who ends up doing the Black Ranger in TMNT. And then you also have Shredder as a Green Ranger. So you have some honorable mentions and stuff like that. You also have Mighty Morphin Black from the movie, the 2017 movie. And then you have a couple repeats from Dino Charge that were, I believe, from some of the movies. So that's going on too. So yeah, without further ado, we're gonna be kicking off this tier list right now and see what happens at this point. So
Let's click off.
Yeah.
Like I said, like before we start, like we do apologize that we've not been recording. We've not been creating as much as we used to. We all three of us started new jobs, and our work schedules are strained and really, time consuming. So we went from recording 2 to 3 days a week to only recording 1 day a week. So we do apologize for that.
Yeah. But without further ado, it's because of the fact that we wanted to give y'all quality content and not just bullshit, basically. We'll keep it real. We'll keep it real. We don't want to give y'all bullshit, because a lot of the times with these tier lists, with these bracket fights, it does take a couple of days of planning to, make sure that we're accurately giving you guys a quality episode, as well as making sure, depending on who we have involved in that fight, that we have the right images uploaded. Like this tier list that we're going to be using, it's somebody else's tier list, which is why you don't see like Hyperforce, this is why you don't see Hyperforce, you don't see Unworthy on here, as well as a couple of other like major comic books and stuff, but just from what you guys see, there is a huge selection. So without further ado, we're just going to jump straight into it with Gorenger Green.
Gorenger basically grandfather,
Yep.
even though it was a Sentai to Jack Q. Um, but I mean, you can't discount the grandfather of the Sentai. I mean,
Nah.
whether what color the Gorenger warrior is, green, red, doesn't matter. They're the one that started it all.
Yep.
So, like I said, we're gonna keep these short because we have other things to tend to. But almost like I said, first 25 instant legendary. But for this one, for the first and the first Sentai legendary, I mean more phenomenal. Pardon me,
So which is it, more phenomenal or legendary? Because
more phenomenal,
I
more
think more
phenomenal.
phenomenal. Jack Q Green.
Jack Q, yeah, it's right there with him. Except, I mean, I think with these guys, the suits were more, you know, well put together. I would go with, yeah,
More phenomenal
more
works.
phenomenal. Yeah,
Battle Fever.
Battle Fever J.
Yeah. This one kind
Uh,
of, for me, it's super just because the costume freaks me out because you have actual animal ears on the side. Like,
well, I mean,
the helmet could have been done a whole lot better. As far as power wise, like strength and ability wise, more phenomenal. But, um, like,
Battle Fever J did introduce us to mechs.
true. That is
And the
true.
fact, and also, you know, what was I going with this? The mechs, and it was funny. It was very comedic to me. But I will agree with where you're at.
Yeah. So I would put him in super. Um, Still very good, still top tier, but yeah, for me it would be super. And then you have, damn it, I always get these two confused. You have, I think it's Denji Man, green, with the scarves and the gold emblems and stuff on the helmets.
Okay, so excuse me, everyone, real quick. Yeah, it's Dingy, man.
Denji Man. Alright.
Yeah.
Um, so Denji Man green, and then you have Denji Man black right after. But Denji Man green, definitely, for me at least, it's more phenomenal. Um, Powers were on point. Uh, you know, suits were on point. Mechs were on point. For me, that's where I would put it.
I agree with you on that one.
All right. Um, all right. Next up,
It will be, I believe, Sun Vulcan.
is that Sun Vulcan? Oh shit, that is
I
Sun
believe
Vulcan.
so.
Yeah, it is Sun Vulcan. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So Sun Vulcan black.
Sun Vulcan, man, Sun Vulcan was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it, I'm gonna keep it because I mean, Sun Vulcan's one of those Sentais you gotta watch. I'm gonna say more phenomenal because, like I said, it was on point. Everything was like right where it needed to be. That you had action, you had everything, and one of my favorite Ranger, Sun Vulcan, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah,
You know, I didn't realize this, but they actually have a comic of Sun Vulcan. And I'm trying to
Really?
find it. Yeah. I'm trying to find it. So, okay. Um. Do, do, do. And then. Wait, that wasn't Sun Vulcan. That was Google V. Sun Vulcan was only the
Had the
primary
comic.
colors.
Oh, the one that had the comic.
No. The comic is Sun Vulcan, but the person we're debating right now is Google
No,
V.
because
Sun Vulcan was only red, blue, and yellow.
no, Son Goku was after Denzi Man.
Yeah, but this is black. Every black and green. Sun Vulcan didn't have black or green.
Oh, okay, never mind. That's right.
Still more phenomenal. Google V, and then next up you have Dynaman, which to me kind of set the precedence a little bit of what,
especially for a themed Sentai. I mean, if you like baseball and you like, you like Power Rangers or Sentai, that's would be the Sentai. I mean,
yeah,
and don't lie, they kicked a lot of ass too. I mean, brutally. So for me, I'm gonna go legendary.
yeah, same. Because I'm pretty sure you know this, but for some of our listeners who don't know this, Dynaman was actually supposed to be a baseball themed Sentai, but at the last second they scrapped it and went with more of the science themed storytelling. So, which is why some of their like weapons and the suits and stuff are baseball themed, because they still kept it because it was too late to change anything other than the traditional storyline that they did.
Yep.
So, all right. Next up, Bioman.
Oh.
Now, for me, Bioman kind of set the precedence of what in space or anything robotic was supposed to be. Like futuristic, that was
that's basically like like Bioman basically set the standard for Mega Ranger.
Yeah. So for me, it would be legendary.
Yeah, I'm right with you.
Next up, Changeman.
Changeman, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Changeman was the first Sentai that was available in more than one country than Japan.
Yes, and it was also the second longest Super Sentai series. Because keep in mind, up to this point,
Gorenger was the
Gorenger
episodes
with the 84. The second longest was Changeman with 55 episodes up to this point.
Correct. Changeman.
And they're the first ones to use the astrological signs.
Yes. Changeman, the suits were, didn't catch my eye enough. But I did like the transformation, though.
Yeah, transformation is dope. But for me, it would be Super.
I'm right with the Super.
Which Flashman? I'm
gonna keep my opinion to Flashman myself and say Super.
Yeah, it's for those of you who've never. Yeah,
it's good. It's bad, but it's both.
That's why, you know what, I would put mid card, bro, because you can't. The suits were basic, the powers were basic, storyline was basic. For those of you who don't know or have never watched Changeman, they're basically descendants from aliens
Mhm.
who didn't grow up on Earth, which is the whole alien part, right?
Which makes me think. Did Saban get that that particular plot from Changeman to create the Alien Rangers?
I think so. I think
Fudge.
so. Um, that's what Flashman was, and to me, it's mid card. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. Um, Next up is Maskman, and for me, Maskman was dope because this is where they started focusing more on the martial arts fighting style. Where now officially this was the first martial arts style storyline where each character was an expert in a different martial arts style.
Only that, but the firepower. Holy
Yeah.
hell! Like Maskman is like we say standard a lot, but it's what every Sentai should look towards. Um, there's one cannon to where all four of them are holding one cannon, and the red Sentai warrior has this harness strapped to him, like using his energy to fire this massive beam, this massive ball of energy, and it's insane.
Yeah.
Um, but every ranger and masked man is lethal in their own way. So for
Yep.
me, this is a more phenomenal team.
Yeah. And did you know, according, and we can research this later when we have more time, but
Yeah,
that Maskman set the precedence of each ranger having their own mech, and then combining
yep,
together to have the standard Mechazord.
yeah, exactly. Another
So,
good point.
uh, yeah, and then you have Live Man.
Live man,
Yeah, so these were the
I kind
first to use animal themed mechs. So like we see in like Wild Force and uh,
I
you know,
didn't really care
so on and
much
so
for
forth.
live man at live man really.
Neither did I.
It's, I mean, with Mask Man, I got hyped, I got excited. Every episode was on point, was perfect. I mean, and when Live Man happened, I kind of felt like they went from more phenomenal to mid, in my opinion.
Yep. And then don't forget, and again, this is how shall we say, kind of difficult in today's era of TV show. If Live Man were to be aired on today's TV show, it would get canceled within the first 10,
Canceled.
10 episodes. And the reason for that
Yeah, it
is
would.
because the green. So we have the black bison and green rhino, but
Yep.
like the green rhino ranger ends up getting pregnant forcibly
Yep.
by a villain, and then leads to the baby being unalive. So for a
Uh,
show that's supposed to be lighthearted, it takes a dark turn very, very fast.
so for our fellow Rangers
Mm-hmm.
who've never seen Sentai,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Not only do we urge you to go watch the Sentai, because you'll learn so much more about where Rangers have come from.
Mm-hmm.
We urge you to actually think about when you say RPM is the darkest Power Ranger, you've not seen what dark is until
Yeah.
you watch Live Man, you watch Jet Man, you watch um, even Zoo Ranger. Watch those,
Mm-hmm.
and then tell me what dark really is.
Yeah. So Black Bison to me was dope. Um, but the entire
Yeah.
series for Live Man to me it's good. It's above mid, but it's not like that next step over. So for me it's super.
I'll give it super, even though it did give us that adult like drama that so many people in the Power Rangers community crave when it comes to Power Rangers. So I give it super as well.
And then you have Turbo Ranger, Turbo Black. Um
Not too bad. Okay, For those of you listening, not to be confused with Car Ranger. Car Ranger was Turbo.
Yeah.
So, not to be confused with that. Oh man, I didn't when it came to Turbo Ranger.
I didn't like
I mean,
it.
it was all right. You didn't like it?
I didn't, bro. I mean, I'll be honest. Okay, look. The whole storyline is after 20,000 years of a certain tribe fighting fairies. That's when, the last fairy alive, teams up with some doctor and then creates, uh, you know, a team of heroes to fight the tribe that they once fought again.
Okay.
Like, the whole storyline in
So
itself is just garbage. And I have to say, with
garbage.
like, fucking
New York accent.
partial New York accent, which I'm probably gonna catch hate for, but I don't care. Yeah, it's garbage.
Eh,
Like, the storyline is garbage. The
okay.
powers and, like, just the storyline though. But like the
No, we're not talking about the
suits,
storyline.
the
We're not talking about
mechs,
the
and
storyline. We're
everything.
talking about the Ranger.
Yeah, the Ranger, however, I give him super.
Yeah, I'll go super. Now, if we were doing storyline based, yes, I'll agree. It's absolutely in the garbage can.
Yeah. Um. Next up, you have Five Man, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it's
Was the Sentai that almost put Sentai in the grave?
yeah.
It's not. When I say that, meaning the toy sales, the just the revenue. I mean, it was. I'm not gonna lie. It was a good series. It's considered a cult classic in Super Sentai. But in this time period, Japan solely survived on the toy sales. They solely survived on the revenue of each episode. Okay, it did horribly. It was not praised. It was back then. They said, "Oh, They said it's going to be as great as Changeman and Mask Man," and they lied terribly. So for me, as much as I like Fight Man and that it is a good season to look at now, it's full with a lot of cringe, like so
Mm-hmm.
much. With me, I got put Five Man in the drawing board.
Yeah. I mean, they're basically all five of them were elementary school teachers, two of which were siblings, and
Yeah,
it tanked everything. Ironically, though, this was the show or one of the shows that Saban um, wanted to try to use for his own Power Ranger adaptation.
and they said no.
And they said no because of ratings and TV. But Toei, which is the, you know, toy company, major toy company other than Hasbro, um, which I think Hasbro bought out Toei. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. But Toei actually continued to push the toy sales and stuff, at least until the next the next series came out, which the next series afterwards is Jetman, which, believe it or not, it's actually inspired by a cartoon.
Yep.
It's inspired by Gotcha Man, which, if you guys have never seen it, heard of it, it's fine. But it's basically you have a group of five people, and they basically all don like a cape and like a hood type of thing, and they're superheroes. It's a cartoon, children's cartoon. That was like back in like the 80s or whatever, or 70s actually. Um, and then this was basically the live action that was done fairly better than that. Yeah, so this was also
Jetman.
one of these.
We on Jetman?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. This is another one that was actually too dark to adapt. and will never be adapted for reasons believe that we saw our first, not our first Ranger death, but a very, very memorable Ranger death. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, you would think out of all the things, especially in today's culture, I'm sorry for cutting you off, man.
No, you're
Uh,
good.
it's in today's culture, kids nowadays are, you see the shit that they watch now. Like,
Yep.
them watching this, they wouldn't be, affected because they see twice as crazy shit on TV nowadays.
Yep.
But for this to be directed towards a younger audience, I would get why they didn't adapt it. Um, and in Japan, the kids in Japan, man, they got iron. They got like a will of iron. They actually sit and watch this and never be affected by it. But the Sentai Warriors in Jetman, hard fucking core. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, they give no fucks. Period.
Yeah. So, Jetman Black, um, he's actually a very passive person. He's a gardener, and
Mm-hmm.
when the basically the chief and then the lead ranger come and approach him, they basically say he basically says, "I'm not a fighter. I just want peace and I just want to tend to my garden." He doesn't even want to be a Power Ranger. But because then, like, I think a minute or two later, um, the enemies sense, okay, we have, at this point in time, 3 out of the 5 Rangers. Let's attack them before they come and get us, right? Basically try to rule the world and
Yep.
everything. And so then he does, transform into um, Jetman and start fighting, but he hates it. He hates himself because he has to fight. Again, he's a very passive person and he just wants peace and be able to tend to his garden. So every time you see him, he's always either gardening or getting things for his garden, or he's talking to the Pink Ranger, to the Pink Jetman Ranger about his garden, because he just wants to go home. He doesn't want to deal with any of this. So for me,
If you, I mean, if y'all think about it, the fact that he's a sort of a pacifist and he does not like violence, he wants to be left alone.
yeah,
That right there tells you he's a dangerous individual because he just wants to be left alone. That's like what people says: never fuck with a quiet person because they fuck your shit up in a heartbeat.
exactly, exactly. So with that being said, the fact that this guy actually has power behind him, and it's the first time we actually ever see a chunky dude as a ranger.
Yes, respect.
So for me, this dude is fucking more phenomenal. Because
Yep.
there are times where he gets his ass kicked, but there are times where it's like he kicks his own ass. So um, then now you have Zoo Ranger, or also known as Mighty Morphin Black, Mastodon, depending on which one you're looking at or which one you're watching. Both legendary, hands down.
Yes. I
Uh,
mean, and before y'all say, oh, they're only giving it legendary because it's Mighty Morphin. Yes and no. We're only going. I agree with Z2. Legendary instantly
yep.
because hear me out. This was a Sentai that started Mighty Morphin. This
Mhm.
is the one that got us all hooked and with who we are today.
Mhm.
Not only that, but I tell people all the time I like the storyline of the Sentai more than I did Mighty Morphin because it made more sense. Not only
Yeah.
that, but the death of the Green Ranger, the brother of the Red Ranger in the Sentai. I cried more watching that than I did watching Tommy lose his Green Ranger powers. And if you don't believe me, I dare you to go watch the Super Sentai Zoo Ranger and watch Borai lose his power and basically die.
Mhm.
And if you said you didn't cry, me, Z2, and Z3 will call you a liar to your face.
Straight up, because at this
A
point in
liar.
time in Zoo Ranger, Borai was brought back to life with the powers of the Green Ranger because Bandai, right, which is also known as Rita, okay, brings Borai back to life because she is tired of getting her ass kicked by the Zoo Ranger team, right? So what does she do? She goes into Geki's past, sees, okay, he had a brother who passed away, right? And these brothers were close and stuff. And so what does she do? She brings Borai back to life, okay? Using the powers, her powers, and then the powers of the Green Ranger, which is why when Borai is first introduced, yes, Geki and, Borai fight and everything, but then the moment that Geki learns whose identity it is, he no longer wants to fight him. To the point where, and again, in Zoo Ranger, you have the mechs come to life, and they can talk and control their own, somewhat. Certain exceptions, but kicks the entire Zoo Ranger team out of the Megazord, and then tells Geki, you either fight your brother, or I'm going to kill you.
Yep.
Okay, that's how dark and twisted this thing gets, but when you're watching it, you do not want to skip an episode. I know that when I first watched this Sentai series, I finished it in like 2.5 days. I did not want to stop. Like, I had pizza and popcorn and and soda and everything around me, man.
No, it's good that Z2 brings this up because we were actually, and not to get off topic with the tier list, but we were actually talking about having a community watch night.
Yep.
For the other day, like at POC, I'm rigging my projector. I have all the Shout Factory of the Sentai's except for Time Ranger, which I'm getting Time Ranger pretty soon. Also, Time Ranger's coming up pretty soon.
Yep.
But we're going to watch this. If y'all are to be at PMC, you guys want to come to our Airbnb, you're more than welcome to watch the Sentai's with us. So super happy, excited to relive all that. But yeah, back to the tier list. Borai, oh my! If you thought, Tommy kicked ass. He took names and he didn't care. But Borai did it in a very, very sinister way. Like you can feel his anger, you can feel his turmoil, and the fact that basically he says, I'm going to kill you anyway if you don't bite me. Give me that honor of beating your ass. But in turn, it's what gets me the most is when I watch Geki play that dragon flute in the horizon. That's what made me cry the most. Like that was so beautiful. That was just perfect. So Zoo Ranger always has a place in the Zeonizer Podcast's heart, regardless of grandfather, regardless of whoever. So instant legendary. No, you can add us. You can add us all you want. We'll tell you the same thing.
Yep. I'll tell you, go screw yourself and the horse you rode on.
Hey, leave the horse alone. The horse didn't do anything to you.
Oh, fuck them and their horse. Die Ranger, bro. You already know where I'm gonna put this.
Dude, Die Ranger is Z2's number one Sentai. I know this man like the back of my hand. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Die Ranger was supposed to be the Thunder, the season 2, season 3, season 2.
Yep.
Was supposed to be the suits. The suits, wow, magnifico.
Oh, dude.
So hot, so sexy. And for those of you who want to understand, the White Ranger was supposed to be the Die Ranger. Okay, for those of you who know the buckle. And this has always drove me crazy. The buckle does not match the Mighty Morphin buckle. This is what always drives me nuts, okay?
Yeah.
And as a kid, I did not know this. So why is his buckle different? Until, like I said, Lost Galaxy, I watched the Sentai. Oh my god, that's why. So I didn't like season 2 of Mighty Morphin. Still today. See, I'll watch season 3 before season 2. Uh, but that when Die Ranger happened, it made more sense.
Mm-hmm.
The Zords matched the Rangers. It matched everything, and the fact that the Ninja was in season. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm getting ahead here.
Yeah.
Green Ranger. Oh my God.
Green
Just
Ranger, drunken fish
uh,
martial arts style. He had his bow
hilarious.
staff, which I mean, I sent the meme earlier in our Discord of the Green Ranger basically nut tapping somebody, and it was just a laugh. So Die Ranger, my
Still,
favorite, is always gonna be legendary. I don't give a crap. Y'all can at me. I will die on this mountain. Okay.
Red Dye
Uh,
Ranger. Red Dye Ranger is my favorite Ranger.
yeah.
Um, and Z2 knows why.
Yeah.
But yeah, Drunken Fist Green Dye Ranger is no one you want to add. There's no one you want to. No, keep that bow staff away from my nutsack. Fuck no.
Yeah. So, uh,
Legendary. More
legendary.
phenomenal. My apologies. Yep.
Nah, he's going legendary. That's a
Legendary.
legendary motherfucker right there.
Legendary. I keep getting those two tiers mixed up.
No, you're good. Cause the one thing I did like though is that in the Sentai is if you pay close attention, Kaiba
Yeah.
Ranger, basically the
Yeah.
White Ranger, he tends to talk a lot with the Green Ranger
Yep.
and the Red Ranger. But his Kaiba's fighting style is a mix of the Red Ranger and the Green Ranger.
And so I'm just saying for some of our viewers and listeners who, if you watch the Sentai, then fine, you guys can ignore what I have to say after the. I ignore what I have to say. For those of you who watch the Power Rangers and don't give a crap about the Sentai, first of all, shame on you. Secondly, Kaba is a child.
Yep.
Okay, and Sentai Japan knocked it out of the ballpark, and when they did America did with Turbo, they completely shit on it.
Yep.
Okay, so it's our take on it. So the white Tiger Ranger from Sentai is actually Kaiba, and he's a child. And don't let looks fool you. He kicked ass. Okay.
Straight up. And now you have the Ninja or
Kaku Rangers.
Kaku Ranger, or basically Alien Ranger. Kaku Ranger I prefer
Uh,
because Alien Ranger that would go back to the drawing board. But if it was Kaku Ranger, I would give him mid card because yes, he was
you're gonna
powerful.
give Kaku. What the fuck?
Here's
Man, you on some serious crap.
here's my explanation. Okay,
Okay.
this specific Ranger. Okay, he was good, but he wasn't great, and he wasn't complete trash. Okay, he had his powers and everything like that. He was cool, but for me, he reminded me too much when I rewatched it. He reminded me too much of Sky.
You're gonna compare him to SPD Blue? Really?
I mean, where do you want to put him? That was just my opinion, but
I was gonna go with Super because
all right, I give you that.
he is he is brash, he is bold. Yes, I'll give you that. But at the same time, the Kaku Rangers, man, you don't want to fuck with them, man. I mean, they they beat their ass, and that's when also Ninja was actually brought in as well. So
That's true too.
I'm gonna go with Super because it is what the Western adaptation was supposed to be.
True.
Not this alien ranger. I can't survive without water. But carry a ball of water with your stupid ass. Shit.
I know. Next up, we have O Ranger, green and black. Basically, Zeo green and Zeo gold.
And gold zero. Okay. It's no surprise. O Ranger is the adapted of Zeo. To Zeo actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically our name right. It's where we got the name because Zeo holds a special place to us.
Mm-hmm.
But O Ranger is the storyline was like right there. right there along with Die Ranger and right there with Zoo Ranger. It was perfect. But the green and black, I mean, the Gold Ranger is actually royalty. That's Riki.
Yep.
Okay, we call King Ranger. That's the reason why from all the bling, all the gold you see on him, that's his royalty status. And no, like nothing against the triplets, nothing against Austin St. John or even Bradley Hawkins who voiced the Gold Zeo Ranger. They don't hold a candle to Ricky. I'm sorry, I said what I said.
True.
With I think these two will be totally different, totally different ones. I would say Gold, more phenomenal, and Green legendary.
Really? I was doing
I
it
would
the other way
yes.
around.
Now what? Well, okay, what's your reason?
So gold would be legendary, and then green would be more phenomenal.
Okay, I'm curious to hear this one.
Okay, because gold, regardless if it's Ranger or Zeo, both kind of knocked out the essence of what the Gold Ranger is supposed to be. Whereas the Green Ranger and Ranger, he was cool and everything like that, but he was very serious and he was also clumsy at the same time. Whereas Zeo, you had Johnny Young Bosch, who this is the first time we've actually ever seen a character go from a primary color like black, blue, whatever, and then completely switch to a different color. First time I've ever seen that. But still, Ranger storyline was better and gave that a little bit more push. Like for me, legendary gold Zeo would be legendary and green Zeo would be more phenomenal. Basically, gold being at the top and then Zeo being on the bottom. Plus, gold Zeo had more powers and more ability than Zeo Green.
Agree to disagree.
Fuck it. We'll just put them both legendary. Call it a day.
Sure.
Uh, Green Car Ranger, also known as Green Turbo Ranger, if you're looking at the Power Rangers series.
Now, Car Ranger. Some people would say Car Ranger was horrible. That's why. There's that literally. I've had people tell me the reason why Turbo sucks is because Car Ranger sucks. That's entirely not true.
No, it's two completely different storylines.
Exactly.
Two completely different setups. I mean, Turbo, other than like if it's season 1 of Turbo, then I guess season 2 Turbo kind of makes more sense. In the sense of like, it just wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So where are you standing there with Car Ranger? I'll give you my answer.
Uh, for me, I would put it at like a super or more phenomenal, depending like which one are we talking about. Are we talking about Car Ranger as in the Sentai? That would be for me more phenomenal. Or are we talking about Turbo from the Power Ranger series? To me, that would be super. Because season 1 of Turbo with Johnny Young Bosch with his long hair and everything like that, when he just started doing his whole band thing and doing Bleach and all of that, doing the different voice works that he was doing, that was more phenomenal. The moment that they switched to I forget the actor's name, but Carlos, to me it kind of dropped it down because it's kind of hard to take over a ranger spot when
While you're in the shadow of a good ranger.
exactly. It's like basically, like TJ, as great of a ranger as he was, JDF being the Red Turbo Ranger just overshadowed it. You know, to me
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
he was too busy threatening to toss monster salads.
Yeah.
No, but I can never be serious. God damn it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. Turbo with the Zeonizer podcast, we can have an hour, 2, 3 hour long discussion of Turbo, and it's endless for us.
Yep.
I did like the Turbo Megazord. Not gonna lie, I liked it. Especially the same thing with the Sentai as well. Is to me, the part of Turbo lacks the creativity. I mean, yeah, you had Johnny Young Bosch, you had JDF, and everybody else in between. But the very second the cast changed, it went to season two. And yes, there is season two of Turbo. Okay, it went downhill. So if this was Turbo, I would have to say Super. If this was Sentai, I would have to go Legendary. Yeah, I'm staying there.
What happened? You broke up at the last second.
Um, I said if it's for me,
Mm-hmm.
Turbo, Super. If
Okay.
we're saying Turbo, be Super and Super Sentai would be Legendary. More phenomenal. No Legendary. Damn it, which one?
Legendary's top tier.
More phenomenal. More
Okay.
more phenomenal. It's
Okay.
Sentai.
Uh, crap. You know what? Let's do more phenomenal, just because of the fact of when and again, this is not our opinion, but this is the general consensus of Turbo, the Power Ranger adaptation. The census is that Turbo is basically one of the best um, shows, regardless of the bad qualities of it. But at the same time, Sentai wise is just a whole nother level. Um, it's just crazy how people confuse the two. So, next up you have Mega Ranger, also known as In Space.
I'm confused, but because I've had a few people because it's like last night I was talking to a fellow fan
Uh huh.
and she said that she's watching Mega Ranger. I said, "Oh, Power Rangers in
Cool.
Space. That's a good season. That's awesome."
Yep.
No, Mega. She says, "No, I'm talking about Super Mega Force." I was like, "Oh my god,
Oh dear
no,
God.
that's Go Kaiser, you fucking, oh my god." So I had to correct her.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you listening, if you know the difference, awesome. I love you. If you don't know the difference, Mega Ranger is the Sentai version of Power Rangers in space. Okay,
To be honest,
so
it's the better version.
is the yes.
I mean, shout out
Yeah,
to Christopher who plays Andros. He really nailed his part as a Red Ranger.
he did.
Um, TJ
And
nailing his part as a Blue Ranger.
he submitted to be one of the top 5 Red Rangers ever.
Oh yeah, I give him that. I give him
Mhm.
that. To me, if we're talking about the Power Ranger adaptation, in space, TJ, Cassie, Ashley, and Carlos, right? Them being overshadowed, and it sucks because they were good actors, you know, being overshadowed in Turbo, Power Rangers Turbo, then being able to start a whole new season and start fresh from episode 1 to the very end, episode 53 or 54 or something like that. 52, I think it was. Um, to me, that's where you actually got to see them as actors and actually as Rangers. Now, Carlos, he did have some, at least for me, again, my soul based opinion, he did have some issues because. Um,
Flipped and kicked by Clip Door that one episode though.
yeah, Um, everything up to the crossover episode with John Young Bosch, Adam, the Mighty Morphin Red or Mighty Morphin Black, sorry,
Yeah.
Ranger. Carlos was meh, like it is what it is. However, everything after that, he was taken very seriously. So he actually did a complete 180. So for me, right, I would put Carlos in Space Black and Super. Now, if we're talking Mega Ranger, okay, we're talking Mega Ranger, more phenomenal, all day, every day.
The fact that you have to understand that Mega Ranger, that the original team, correct me if I'm wrong, Z2.
Mm-hmm.
The original team were video gamers, and then they played a simulation, and they did not know for a fact that the simulation was a testing period to see who could be a Mega Ranger. And the fact that these five passed the simulation test, they became Mega Rangers.
So
And
actually, it was
that,
only the Red Ranger. The Red Ranger
oh, it
played
was
the
Red
video
Ranger,
game,
yeah.
right? The other four
Yeah.
were students of the high school who were doing an interview with one of the heads of the aerospace, right?
That's right.
Again, this is them, but the aerospace, one of the doctors or whoever, and then just being at the right place at the right time, they become Mega Rangers. So that's why a lot of the times you see the Red Ranger kind of explaining a little bit, like, oh, okay, this fighter can do this, this person can do this and stuff, because it was based off of a game, or at least a simulation.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, my good man?
I just like the fact that this, how Red Ranger came to be about. That this was a simulation, and they liked what they saw, and they figured, hey, let's try this out. And then they were basically thrust upon into this battle with that particular villain. And I love the chemistry right off the bat. Yes, they had some issues in a few episodes, but they had the pitch perfect chemistry in their first fight. For me, more phenomenal.
Okay. I like it. Gigaman, or basically Lost Galaxy, both for me, mid-card.
Yeah. I mean, Lost Galaxy had the top storyline, and still to today, I mean, it brings the story. I mean, we got to see probably in Lost Galaxy the first ever Ranger death, being
Kendricks.
Kendricks.
Yep.
And is still today, it's seen as the go-to storyline that most Rangers go to.
Yeah.
So we're talking Galaxy. I'm gonna go Legendary, and for Gigaman, I'm going Super.
Okay, we'll go Super then, because it's kind of hard when you have that much of a difference between the storylines. That's just too much. You have Lightspeed, which for me is meh, and then. But if you're talking about the Sentai, it's Go 5, which is still kind of meh. So I could have dealt without it, to be honest. Because Lightspeed, I mean, yeah, we got to see a whole new creation of a character, of a ranger. but at the same time, I could have dealt without it. Time Ranger, Time Force, to me, hands down, more phenomenal.
Yep, I'm right with you. I'm not even going to argue. I agree with you. Actually, we have a follower that follows the Instagram page. His name is Forever Super Sentai. He lives in Puerto Rico. Really good guy. You guys should go give him a follow. He's keeping me update on Sentai King Oger on the edge of my seat each and every time. Right now, on episode 19, where he gets the crown, and it's indeed awesome. But you'll go give him a follow. But nonetheless, he's sending me the One Shot Factory Super Sentai DVD that I do not have in my collection, and that's Time Ranger. And I'm super happy. So, shout out to him. But yeah, Time Ranger is definitely more phenomenal.
Did you know that Time Ranger was like 35% based off of Pokemon?
I knew that. I didn't want to say it, but I already knew it.
I didn't know that.
Time Ranger, gotta catch them. Okay.
Don't ever do that again.
Okay. No promises.
You have Gorenger, Wild Force, Black Bison.
Okay. Sentai was good. I put Sentai as super.
Okay.
Because there were so many Zords.
100 B
So
Squad
much
for a reason.
Yeah, 100 B Squad. Now the Power Rangers. Okay. It's no secret. I didn't like Danny. I did not like Danny as the Black Bison Ranger. Just felt, he did what he was goofy, and he had his moments, and he was very, very, confident. But I don't know, to avoid any kind of confrontation. I'm gonna say the Black Wild Force Ranger, Matt, and the Black Super Sentai Super.
Yeah, but it's hard to separate the two.
Yeah.
So meh.
It is.
But
Yeah.
I do give credit where credit is due. Gal Ranger basically introduced the concept of an auxiliary Megazord that attaches to the main primary Megazord, which was then carried over up until now. So shout out to Gorenger for doing that. Because without that, we wouldn't have the certain abilities that a lot of these other Megazords have. Next up is Hurricane Ranger, Ninja Storm, which is the green Samurai Ranger.
Okay. What's your take?
For me, if we're talking about Cam, Super. If we're talking about the Sentai, Super still works.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't really fit. I mean, you have...
Even though Ninja Storm was Ninja Storm the first Disney era Power Ranger?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah, I agree with you on Super. I mean, I liked Cam, but he had that spoiled brat daddy mentality. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Because for me, Hurricane Ranger, for me it didn't make sense. You have Ninja, and then you have a Samurai.
Yeah.
How in the fuck does that work? Like, you have Shinobi, and then you have a Samurai. Those are two separate tribes altogether. Now and it just kind of goes from there. So for me, Super. The first show that Disney produced, which, I mean, shout out to Disney. We're not trying to make enemies, but I mean, it is what it is at that point. Next up, you have Dino
Actually,
Thunder.
yeah, which was Abo. I can't pronounce.
Or Abba
I can't.
Ranger.
Yeah, that was the only one I can't say real well.
Mm, the storylines were kind of different.
Kind of, they were different.
Yeah.
I mean, Abo Ranger, you had two different worlds. You had the human world and the Dino world,
True.
and they were slowly forming, colliding, and they have to stop this from happening, or else, both planets will be merged and completely destroyed.
True.
So that right there, that's like that storyline is like movie theatrical plot line. I mean, of epic proportion.
Mm-hmm.
So the Black Dino Ranger, of course, JDF knocked it out of the ballpark like he did every other form, every Ranger form, even Turbo. And it was his last Ranger form, and may he rest in peace. Still today, Power Ranger fans, besides Mighty Morphin, the second one they always go to is Dino Thunder. For the life of me, and because it was JDF's last Ranger role, I cannot put this any lower than Legendary. But if we're talking Super Sentai, to me,
it's still
I would have
Legendary.
to go Super. Yeah.
No, to me, I mean,
Still.
That's where me and you kind of like. If it's the Power Ranger adaptation, it's Legendary. But if it's a Sentai adaptation, you're thinking Super. But for me, I'm thinking Legendary because Super Sentai up until this point, a lot of their Six Rangers have either been children or aliens. Right?
Yeah.
Being the fact that the Sixth Range, or technically the Fourth Ranger, but he's still an extra Ranger, the Black Ranger, was from the dinosaur planet. Because when you look at his face, he has things on his face that no regular human has. So he does come from the dinosaur planet. But he also does set the bar of what it means to kind of either meets the bar or sets the bar. I have to rewatch Abba Ranger all over again to give you a better answer, but he does kind of, he's up there basically, for me at least. Next up, which is why I put it in Legendary. Next up is Deca Ranger SPD. You have Bridge, and then you have Doggy Kruger, Shadow Ranger. If it's Bridge, SPD, Deca Ranger, it's Super. Wasn't really a big fan of Bridge. Wasn't really a big fan of the Green Ranger and Deca Ranger. For me, it's Super. But if we're talking Shadow Ranger, Legendary all the fucking way.
Legendary, the Kruger from both Sentai and Power Rangers, both roles knocked it out of the park. Even though the Sentai looked like he was a guy in a furry costume going to a cosplay, still knocked it out of the park. And still, till this day on Power Rangers, Doggy Kruger stands out to me, number one best, authentic looking, almost real looking special effects character I've ever seen. And the fact that they both had that military father role, and even a kick-ass Sentai warrior or a Power Ranger, nonetheless, yeah, I agree with you on that one. But it also on the other Ranger, Bridge. Bridge annoyed the hell out of me.
Yep.
Like standing on your head. That I'm sorry. Still to this day, that bothers me. But yeah, he is a good strategic advantage mind he's got, and he does show it sometimes in a few of the episodes. but we do see him in Operation Overdrive.
Yep.
Was it as the Red Ranger? Now that was the bridge I would like to see a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Not this way. I mean, and I would rather see Boom as Orange SPD before I like to see Bridge as any other color. Ouch. I went there. I agree with you on Bridge.
All right, next up, Magi Ranger.
Mystic Force. Magical Source, Mystic Force. This is why me and Z2 get along so well. We love the hell out of Mystic Force. And the Sentai Magi Ranger is even better. But the Sentai Magi Ranger, I'm going legendary. And Mystic Force, I'm going more phenomenal because it is underrated. It's underrated. It's underappreciated. No one talks about it. And still to this day, and Z2 is going to agree with me, I know he is, the best battleizer Red Ranger ever had. Like, got dragon wings, everything. And this number, we're not talking about Red Rangers, but I believe Xander had a lot of, even though he was the wacky kind of like college cool kid, kind of vibe he had going on, still powerful all the way around and quirky, always made you laugh. So that's where I'm at. Mystic Force is more phenomenal with Magic Rangers legendary.
Yep. Straight up, I agree. Next up you have Gorenger, also known as Operation Overdrive.
We all know where Operation Overdrive is at.
Yeah. But as in Gorenger, I mean, it's basically the same shit.
More or less.
I put it back to the drawing board, to be honest. Again, that's me.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. The mechs are cool, the suits are cool, the weapons are cool, but storyline, plot, the whole shebang, it just doesn't make sense. Next up, you have Geki Ranger, Jungle Fury, and you have both Camille and Jared, which I forget what their counterparts are. Basically, the Lion, and then Camille, which these guys were essentially villains, but like the last 5 episodes, they turned to the good side. So,
yeah,
as far as suits and powers go, more phenomenal, because they are some powerful people. As far as character-wise development, I give it super, but again, that's just me.
Jungle Fury is just like Mystic Fury. Mystic Fury is underappreciated. It's undervalued for its creativity and its story and its characters. Yes, Dom was an asshole. Dom is still an asshole. And it's just so awesome to watch 3 kung fu students go from students to masters right before your eyes, and it's awesome to see. I agree with Z2 on this one, all the way around.
All right, next up, your favorite of all time, Gorenger, RPM. RPM Black, more phenomenal. RPM Green, mid card. But if we're talking about the Sentais, super.
Did you say this is my favorite one, really?
Yes. Because we all know you love Ziggy. So much.
I hate him. I hate you.
Hell no, I hate the
I
fuck out of Ziggy
so
too.
hate you.
Ziggy's fucking back to the drawing board, to be honest with you. But RPM Black, the dude had power.
Yeah, he did.
For him, I would put more phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But Ziggy, yeah, back to the drawing board. He was too much of a tryhard to be a comedic relief. Like it made zero sense.
True. I mean, damn. Dude, don't ever say he's my favorite again. Don't do that again.
All right. Next up, Samurai.
Suck. Sorry.
Yeah.
If we're talking Super Sentai, Super Sentai made more sense.
Yeah.
Just like Gorenger. I'm not gonna go in complete and utter detail because I'm just not. After that Ziggy comment, I'm so burnt out, guys. Super Sentai Samurai, legendary. Samurai, back to the drawing board.
Yeah. And which is crazy because Super Sentai was the first to actually introduce a female Red Ranger.
Yep.
Later on in the show, which because of the first Red Ranger, he was destroyed or something like that. Again, I have to rewatch it to confirm. But then a female Red Ranger steps in place and then takes control and then, ends off the season and everything. But as far as Samurai goes, it was only for a couple of episodes that we had a female Red Ranger. So, again, yeah, to me, it's just back to the drawing board on that one. Crap Force. You already know I'm going with this one.
Yeah.
That's back to the drawing board. That was just trading cards as a theme, regardless of Super Sentai or American adaptations. I mean, by the time this came out, trading cards weren't even big at the time. Now if this was earlier, like 2005, 2006, when people were still doing like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering and, things like that, where trading cards were big at that specific time, then yeah, of course, it'd be much higher up on the list. But yeah, this was it just was not where it needed to be. However, this is where it flips a complete 180. Gorenger.
Yeah.
Now, Gorenger, to me, legendary.
Mm-hmm.
Super Megaforce, on the other hand, it did a little bit better than Megaforce. So it would be like a mid-card. Almost super if they kind of fixed a couple of things. But if we're talking about Gorenger, legendary.
Oh, all around. All the way. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Next up we have is Kaiju Ranger or Dino Charge. Dino Charge Black and Green. I don't know, man. Dino Charge to me was just kind of that weird season where it had its good points and it had its bad points. But yeah, so if we're talking Dino Charge, I think Super. If we're talking Sentai, yeah, I think Super would still be it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Any
Right. Ooh, I don't know, bro. You're hitting the points. I was just gonna say the exact same shit you're about to say.
Yeah. Alright, well, super is where it goes then. Toku Ranger, another season. Actually, this is the first season when it came to the adaptations, new age adaptations that didn't get adapted, which I think they kind of missed on, which I understand
Oh
why
yeah.
they didn't, but because Toku Ranger, being able to be whatever color you wanted and take that person's power was just cool.
Oh yeah.
Like you can
Oh
be a
yeah. Hell
pink
yeah.
ranger and then turn into the red ranger if you wanted, or if you were the blue ranger and you wanted to be the red ranger or the pink ranger, like you can do that if you wanted. So to me, Toku Ranger was pretty cool. This is the
Oh
actually
yeah.
the first time that we actually got to see a essentially a primary color, because green is a primary color. Um, so low in the list as far as like leadership goes. So green Toku Ranger is actually number 4. So it goes red Toku Ranger, which is number 1, blue Toku Ranger, which is 2, yellow Toku Ranger, which is 3, green Toku Ranger, which is 4, and then pink Toku Ranger, which is 5. We see the same kind of setup in RPM where um, the Green Ranger is number 4, but it's so far it hasn't been followed up to where in the Sentais you've always had the 3 males or 4 males, the top 2 or 3, 1 through 3, and then you had the females last. So this is the first time that we've actually ever seen it switched. So, but to me, Toku Ranger, more phenomenal. The dude was a beast when it came to fighting. Uh, and yeah, I mean, it sucked because at this moment in time, like Power Rangers, because of Megaforce and because of the slow decline of Super Megaforce, Power Rangers and Sentai started taking a dive in ratings. And to me, I feel like this could have been the one to bring it back. Um, Next up is the
Ninja
uh,
Steel.
yeah, and a ninja.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, this one's kind of difficult to do.
We didn't really sit down and watch Ninja Steel all the way. Uh,
Yeah,
that's one that me and Z2 have on our list because I didn't watch much Ninja Steel, if at all, because that year was a tough year for me. So I didn't watch much Power Rangers or Super Sentai in that year.
yeah.
So definitely got to go back and watch that. So let's just put that on the drawing board until we can actually get a good uh, opinion on it.
Fair enough. Um, Zayu Oger.
Yeah.
Basically, it's zoo. It's basically animals. You take the beast of the animals, transform and stuff like that. To me, it was an upgrade from Wild Force. I feel like this is
Mm-hmm.
what Wild Force was trying to be. Um, their morphing sequence was a little weird because they had like a Rubik's cube type of thing. But for me, the fact that they had like an ancient mystic mode essentially, or ancient animal mode, I guess you would call it. Um, it also did, um, it also did kind of shoot some in the beginning. The first few episodes did pay homage to Sun Vulcan because the 3 primary colors were red, yellow, and blue, right? Which was Falcon, think dolphin and lion, or shark and then lion, and then the two later, which was elephant and was it leopard or something like that? Uh, those two came later on, and then you had the other one, which was the black and gold, um, Zeoranger, or Z Zeoger Ranger. Um,
Yeah.
but as far as like the Green Ranger goes for Sentai, he was pretty badass. But being the fact that he came later on in the series, um,
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, for me, there's not a lot of information, but from what I did see of him, he was pretty strong. Um, but I would still just put him in super.
Yeah, I agree with you. You got it.
Yeah, I might have to just rewatch it because then I can always change my mind at the end too. But up next is one of our favorite Sentais. Myself, Z1. It's Caillou Ranger. Um, so you have the
Q Ranger.
yeah Q Ranger. Sorry, my brain's not fucking functioning right now. Um,
It's okay. I didn't totally sleep at all. My brain's like, still caught behind a wall of sleep.
yeah. Some people seem to think that this Sentai was based heavily on Star Wars, and I guess you would kind
No.
of be right if you were high. Um, but in actuality, it's not. They're more based on astrological signs, because there is 12 of them. 12 or 13?
Yep.
12?
Well, constellations.
Yeah, 12 constellations. And there's also two Red Rangers, as well
Yeah.
as many different other Rangers. The black one is a Bison, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the person who, or at least the character who does the
Blackboard.
Bison, yeah, isn't he a dragon when he's unmorphed?
It's Oshi Black. Uh, I believe if I'm not mistaken, he's kind of like, I think he is a dragon, believe it or not. I may be wrong, but like I have watched it so many times. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think he is a dragon. But he's a smart ass to boot. I mean, he's hilarious at times. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's tall as hell. I mean, he gives Dr. Kruger a run for his money.
Yeah.
Strong. I mean, you can see him taking on multiple enemies at once by himself. Um, and just a side note, this actually, I don't want to believe it. I don't want to acknowledge it, but Cosmic Fury, they say Cosmic Fury is an adaptation of Uchiho Q Ranger, and it
It's
is
not.
not.
It's not.
It's not. Hasbro, like we've done said multiple times, Hasbro done said, and we're not hating on Hasbro. We're not hating on Cosmic Fury. And people say you can't hate something that's not come out. Actually, in actuality, I can, because they lied to say that they're not. And you can ask Z too. He's done seen the press conference and all that they're going to stop um, adapting.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they adapted the Morphers, supposedly, is not the Morphers, and the Megazords. Uh, that's adapting. But to us, that is not Q Ranger. It never will be. Um, and it's sad because Uchiho, excuse me, Uchiho Q Ranger is probably the most popular Sentai now uh, than it was in
Mm-hmm.
2000. This was 2016, right? So it's
17 going into
17.
18.
Okay. Yeah. This is just sad. So there is no counterpart to these Rangers
Mm-mm.
at all. So given the fact that they were highly popular in that time period, and they still are, and they're, you know, both strong as hell and powerful, I'm going legendary with these guys.
For both? For the Chameleon Ranger too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright. I agree with you. Lupin Ranger.
Oh God.
Yeah. Or Pat Ranger, I guess you would call him.
Something that would never be adapted ever
Yeah. I mean,
because of the gunplay, because of cops and robbers, the whole gunplay, and so, I'm sorry if I cut you up, but this makes no sense. SPD were cops. Time Force were time cops.
mm-hmm.
You had a fucking bloody jewel thief on Operation Overdrive who stole stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and yet you can't adapt this because of how cops are viewed in America.
Look,
Like,
at the end of the day, every kid below the ages of
played cops
10
and robbers.
played cops and
Yeah,
robbers. And you mean to tell
exactly.
me that you can't adapt a TV show that allows you to watch them play cops and robbers? Like, to me,
Right?
I mean, Pat Ranger and Lupin Ranger, or Lupin Ranger v Pat Ranger, I mean, it's the storyline is pretty twisted. It makes sense, and then it doesn't make sense, and then it makes sense, and then it doesn't make sense. But as far as like storyline, popularity, and everything goes, it was very popular as a Sentai.
Yep.
Because didn't it get like what, 2 movies, 2 or 3 movies?
Yeah. 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 About so.
Um, and then they even had a special cameo from Decker Ranger, which is SPD, in one of their movies as well. So for me, it's more phenomenal.
I agree with you.
Next up, you have Ryu Soul Ranger, which is basically whatever.
Dino Fury.
Yeah, Dino Fury.
Yeah. Rice Sugar was I'm sorry if I murdered the name. Like I said, these names I got used to learn saying.
Mm-hmm.
Top tier for the Sentai. I hit it out of the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going legendary because it's not as good as it was more phenomenal, but the storyline hit better, way better than Dino Fury could ever do. And this was Dino Fury. I would say it's meh. It's still meh because I don't like the fact that Zato, just because he came in the picture, he's 65 fucking million years old, makes him the oldest Ranger. Not in my book. Sorry. Never. But
Yeah,
that's just me.
Ryu Soul Ranger for me is more phenomenal. If we were talking about Dino Fury, it'd be back to the drawing board. They just completely butchered Ryu Soul Ranger. Um,
Yep.
Ryu Soul Ranger was very cool because it used the previous adaptations, Dino Thunder, Mighty Morphin, Dino Charge. It kind of brought all of those together and made them knights. That's what the whole point of Ryu Soul Ranger is to be knights embedded with the power of the dinosaur. Um,
Yep.
and for me, it's you know it's one of those seasons where it's like it makes things different, because you're basically trying to uh, You're basically trying to make it into. You have two warrior tribes trying to reclaim Earth, and Ryu Soul Ranger is one of those tribes. Also, Ryu Soul Ranger is the first Sentai ever to introduce a Brown Ranger.
Yep. Round the money.
So for me, Ryu Soul Ranger, more phenomenal. And it sucks because I know when people see this list, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you put Dano Fury in more phenomenal? How dare you?" No, 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 no. It is Ryu Soul Ranger that takes this mantle, not Dino Fury.
Yep. Don't get it twisted. And we're not harshing on Hunter Dino's 3 years of her work. We're not doing that. Even though she is an awesome person and she's going to make a good Red Ranger, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a simple fact that Ryu Soul Ranger was a better series than Dino Fury.
Yep. Hands down, my brother. Hands down.
Mm-hmm. All right, what's next?
Kira Major, which is basically Crystal Rangers.
What's this one? But since I didn't watch much of this one, I'm gonna say meh.
Yeah, man works.
Yeah.
Dawn Brothers is up next.
My God, Dawn Brothers. I swear, if Looney Tunes were Power Rangers, they'd be the fucking Dawn Brothers.
That's
Like,
actually
seriously.
very, very accurate.
Like, y'all watch this. Like, it's like you're watching Acme Looney Tunes if they were Power Rangers. That's what this is. It's like, there's no seriousness at all. It's all laughs. It's all like, there's just one. I watched like half of the Dawn Brothers, and I just didn't care for it anymore. There's one scene where the villain takes this Black Ranger, this Black Sentai warrior, who looks like Sonic in fucking Power Ranger form, and basically grabs him by the leg and just does the Hulk, what Hulk did to Loki and the Avengers, is just hitting him on the damn ground over and over and over again, and you can see him, wiggling and vibrating like a Looney Tune would. That's basically what that is. I didn't care for the Dawn Brothers, and I still don't. So I'm gonna go with back to the drawing board with Dawn Brothers.
All right. Yeah, Dawn Brothers to me wasn't really that good. It had its moments. I will not lie. It did have its moments, but other than that, it just wasn't where it
It
needed
wasn't
to
really
be.
thought out.
Yeah.
It wasn't really thought out very well.
The 2017 movie, Mighty Morphin,
Why is that on here?
because it's all adaptations, Sentai and comic books and Power Rangers.
Trash. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Drawing board. Drawing board.
So these two right here, Dino Charge, Black and Green, those are just repeats, but these are from the movies. I mean, we can put them on Super again,
Yeah, okay.
just because that's where we already placed them, but they just repeated. Psycho Black.
Ooh, man. Psycho Rangers kicked ass. That's probably the only antagonist that I truly liked. So, and the fact that they were able to drain their brain waves and get their mannerisms and get their abilities, their weapons, and everything. That way they can fight each other at an even playing field, even though it wasn't really even half the time. Um, Anything psycho related, and hopefully Unworthy gets back to us and we can discuss Phantom Menace, not Phantom Menace, Psycho Menace. Damn it. So with Psychos, I'm gonna go with Legendary.
Yep. SPD A Squad green.
Uh, I didn't like the A Squad. I still don't.
Meh.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This one right here, I still don't know what this one is because I can't really see the face that well. So I'm gonna put back to the drawing board just because I can't give you an accurate description. Omega Black.
Ooh,
Now,
Omega Zack.
yeah, now we're going into the comic books. So if you haven't read the comic books, I
Yes.
highly recommend you do that.
So the Omega Rangers is basically Trini, Zack, and Jason. They were supposed to go to a peace conference. In reality, that was an excuse. That was the
Mm-hmm.
excuse that they made. They decided to protect this power, and I'm not going to any spoilers because
Mm-hmm.
it's a comic you need to read.
Yep.
They become the Omega Rangers to protect this power. All around, oh my god! You talk about they have this Omega Rangers are twice as powerful as the Mighty Morphin Rangers ever will be, and they look badass. So just the design and just the fact that we have the three original Black, Yellow, and Red Ranger in on the roll.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I'm gonna go more phenomenal on this one.
Oh, I was going legendary.
Well, you gonna go legendary? Okay, let's go legendary.
I'm going legendary, just because it sets apart. Like, this is legitimately Timeline Rangers before Time Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what these guys are set to do. They're here to protect the timeline and go through different dimensions and everything. So they're essentially creating the multiverse right before our eyes.
Yep.
So for me, legendary. The last three, if you haven't read the comics yet, but so we have one that's Mighty Morphin Black, but it's based off of the Godzilla comic book adaptation. Being the fact that we've already put Mighty Morphin Black in Legendary, the comic book, however, didn't really do it justice. Mighty Morphin Black would essentially be more phenomenal, but then you also have Mighty Morphin Black, but I believe it's I want to say it's Leonardo or Donatello. That's the Black Ranger.
Leonardo is the Blue Ranger, given his bandana. Michelangelo is the Yellow Ranger. Of course, Raphael is the Red Ranger. So yes, Donatello would be Black Ranger.
Okay, so Donatello is basically the Black Ranger instead of and in this storyline, right? So instead of Zordon finding the 5 teenagers with attitude, right? Or he does, right? And then this crossover happens, but due to the crossover, you know, the powers get affected, you know, some way, shape, or another. And so you have the TMNT team, right? Donatello, Raphael, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Shredder, Casey, all of them, right? This crossover happens, and because of this crossover, the Power Rangers, when they morph, they turn into their animal instincts.
Which is sick as hell, too.
Which is very, very dope. But then, so Zordon has to create new temporary power coins, and when he does that, when the Ninja Turtles, when they morph, they become the Power Rangers. So for me, that's more phenomenal.
Exactly.
And then the last one, you have Shredder as the Green Ranger with the Dragon Shield, the helmet, whole nine.
I'm curious though. I mean, I always wanted. I was hoping Casey was going to take the mantle of the Green Ranger. I think a lot of us was hoping that. But I'm thinking maybe because we were talking about this before the recording. Maybe Shredder is the evil Green Ranger form. Now, in the comic, maybe in the future, maybe he'll take over the mantle of Casey will take the Green Ranger powers. But then I thought that's not going to happen because now Casey has turned evil and he's now I don't think he's the Death Ranger.